Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Wong, and this program is brought to you by Ding Ding TV, Civic Leadership USA, APAPA, and 80/20 PAC. Today we have Professor Bay here, visiting the Bay Area. Let's welcome him. How are you doing, Professor?
Thank you, Joe. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I understand you're coming here to attend the Committee 100 conference on science and technology, which is caught between the United States and China. Tell us a little bit about the subject.
Well, this subject has been a major concern of the Scientific American, not just the Chinese American community, over the past 2 years. And that goes back to a year ago when we have really got attention of the Chinese community.
Okay, I understand the 14 organizations signed a paper, sent a letter to the FBI Director Wray. Tell us about that.
Yes, I think in a year ago, in the early 2018, Director Wray testified at the Senate. And basically, he was referring to all Chinese threat to the national security, which raised a lot of concern. So 14 organizations led by a committee of 100 together, we wrote a letter to Director Wray, request a meeting to understand where he's coming from and express our concern. We also get support from several congressional members, including Judy Chu from California. They wrote to Director Wray, encouraged him to meet with us, but we got no response from Director Wray.
I see. And then what happened after that?
Since the top-down approach didn't work, we decided at that time we will go ahead to do the bottom-up. So after the March 1st letter, starting in April in Texas, for example, we reached out to the FBI regional headquarters in San Antonio. I worked with the law enforcement in Houston in the past. We also reached out to the local office in Houston. So we started the dialogue, but that was going on in the background. It's not just Houston, Austin, New York City, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. all approached their local office separately, but not too much happening yet at that point.
Okay. And then what happens? Did that go over to the national side, get more attention from the national side?
Well, not quite. What happened is at that time, once our letter to Director Wray became public information, people in Houston started approaching me and others who involved in the 14 organization letters. And at that time, rumors started to spread in Houston that people in medical center were investigated. But the whole thing came to the boil in August 2018, when the FBI called an unprecedented meeting in Houston, Texas Medical Center. At that time, they got over 100 leaders from different medical and academic institutes to meet behind a closed door. Mm-hmm. In that meeting, they warned the leaders of academic community that the inside threat in these institutions is the #1 risk. That really drew the attention from the whole nation at that time, because there was a feature article from Houston Chronicle with a very detailed report.
I see. So what happens then when they get the whole attention of the United States?
Well, I think first thing we did was that what we started doing, the bottom-up approach, is coming to the boil. So we really pushed into have panel discussions, forums, and with the participation of both FBI, who's on the investigation side, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office, they're on the prosecution side. We want to sit down with them, want them to talk to our community to explain what's going on.
And this type of meeting is not just alone in Houston, it has happened in other cities around the United States.
Well, when we pushed for this kind of meetings at that time, I mentioned earlier, there was not just Houston, Austin, Chicago, New York, DC, all try to approach. At the beginning, DOJ doesn't know how to handle with us, so they say, okay, let's use Houston as a pilot.
See.
So we had the first meeting in Houston. FBI sent an agent here. They also sent a media specialist with them because the media was allowed. So we really got both the mainstream coverage, media coverage, as well as international TV coverage at that time. So then it followed by Austin, then followed by DC in the following week. That really established the first contact and communication channel with FBI.
So it's grassroots approach. Did it help? Does it get some more attention to the problem?
Yes, we surely did. What surprised us was that we were invited, 5 of us were invited from East to West Coast to meet with the FBI at the headquarters in Washington, D.C.
Uh-huh.
That's very unusual because usually the headquarters was only in charge of policy, oversight. They don't involve with the interaction with the community.
I see. And then are there any other action going on, such as in Berkeley and elsewhere?
Well, I think the first thing happened was because the meeting at the headquarters was reported by Houston Chronicle at that time, the word gets out. So right after that, starting from beginning of 2019, we in Houston have been getting phone calls by all the major media at that time. In parallel at that time, starting in February, also I think the credit to state of California, that 2 universities, start with UC Berkeley and Stanford. The president and chancellor, they make the public statement to support the international community on campus and also the international collaboration. I think by now we have over 20 president or chancellor of the major research institute issued a statement already. So that's very appreciative.
Okay. And what happens after that?
The next wave was really the professional community. I think started with the 3 Chinese professional society working on the biomedical side. Mm-hmm. They issued an open letter on the Science magazine in March this year. And they also got the response from the NIH leadership. That's the National Institute of Health. They are the one funding all the biomedical research. And at that time, going on in parallel, the media has been trying to get information out of the medical center in Houston, in particular, MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Uh-huh. And did it get a lot of people excited because of this notice that, people, spy might be coming to the medical research?
Well, I think up to that point, in Houston for over a year, the community was filled with rumors.
Uh-huh.
And we don't have any fact. What we know is that some major researchers, they are supervising the whole research lab. They were put on leave or retired.
This is MD Anderson, or
This
did
is
you know
MD
that?
Anderson Research
Okay,
Center.
I see.
Okay, we were able to identify maybe 10 of them.
I see.
Either they were put on administrative leave, then when you don't see your boss for 3 months, you know something happened. Okay, or they suddenly resign or retire.
So nobody know what happened?
There are
then?
all kind of rumor. We don't know
Okay.
for a fact.
Okay.
Okay. Also, MD Anderson did not respond to the Freedom of Information Act
I
request
see.
from the media.
I see.
Until in March, some reporters came from Houston. They interviewed not just the researchers, but also interviewed the administrators of the people in the medical center. At that time, finally, MD Anderson, you and they gave the information exclusively to Houston Chronicle, not to the mainstream media.
I see.
So that time, they also granted exclusive interview with the president of MD Anderson.
Did they make any distinction between Asian American and Chinese American or Chinese national? Did they make any difference?
We didn't know at that time, but so far, once in mid-March, once the MD Anderson disclosed there's a sick binder, which the Houston Chronicle showed me before their exclusive interview with the president of the MD Anderson, then the whole thing becomes clear. If it was not exclusively Chinese American, it's definitely Asian American and primarily Chinese American.
I see.
So there is a lot of concern.
Yes, I can see why. So what follows that?
Well, at that time, one of the national organizations, which I'm part of, the United Chinese American, issued a statement with a 5-point statement. And that went out to a newswire, to the whole nation at that time. I also forwarded the statement to Houston Chronicle. The statement was issued on Thursday. I was surprised that on Monday morning, Houston Chronicle tell me they got a response from MD Anderson president.
Okay, I want the viewers to know that besides being a professor in electrical and computer engineering, Dr. Pei is also the founder and one of the ex-chair of the UCA, United Chinese American. And in this role, you kind of intervene, you can kind of take a positive, major role in standing up to this type of threat to science and technology.
Well, that could not happen without the support of the whole community, as well as the whole media, and as well as the scientific community. Without the support of the collective effort, we would not get to where we were. The result was that after the exclusive news report came out by both Houston Chronicle and the Science magazine,
I see.
within 1 week, the attention of the whole nation was focused on MD Anderson.
Okay.
There were 4 articles within 1 week from Science magazine alone.
Okay.
So the impact was huge.
I see.
The impact was really huge. So that really forced the president of the MD Anderson come to the table. We had a meeting with the leadership. The president himself and 2 senior vice presidents met with 4 of us from the community.
I see.
That include one state representative, Jim Wu, of Texas House. We have the Committee 100 represented by Jim Wu, by Harry G, the president of UCA, and myself.
Well, can you tell us about how this would hurt the scientific research, particularly in the field of cancer research?
Because MD Anderson is a cancer center, but when based on a sick binder information released by the MD Anderson, that become clear. All the 5 people, researchers identified by NIH in the letter from NIH to MD Anderson, they were all engaged in basic research. They are not the people working on biotech or working on drug development. They're really on basic research. So the question is, why the MD Anderson became the epicenter? That was the question I asked FBI headquarters in December 2018. Then why you having NIH, not in the Department of Defense or Department of Energy? That's more national security related. So that was the question I'm still asking. So that really got the people's attention, raised the question, why cancer research? And most recently, the Committee of Concerned Scientists also issued, the 2 co-chairs issued an open statement. They question why U.S. want to hide the cancer research from China. Because this is a humanity issue. We want to cure the cancer. That takes a major collaboration, international collaboration to make that happen. If you label cancer research as national security, I think the scientific community really have problem, in particular, when the basic research is targeted. It's not a drug development, it's not even a biotech. They may have more economic implication. But many of these cases we know turn out to be just basic research.
So basically, by doing this, the U.S. may be hindering the basic research for the international community?
Well, I think it's not just international collaboration. To some degree, we are hurting our own competitiveness.
I see.
That's why I told many of the congressional members in Texas, this was back from, actually, I would say 2 years ago, when we start hearing about all these stories. I told them, these are the researchers that have been recruited by foreign countries way back. I'm talking about 15 years ago, but not successful.
I see.
But now, what our US government have done is help the foreign countries to accomplish they cannot accomplish by themselves. We are pushing these top talents out of the medical center, out of Houston, out of Texas, out of the United States.
I see.
It's not helping our competitiveness.
I see. Are there any support from other community, other, I understand 60 or so organizations come to declare that.
Yes,
that
I think that happened earlier this year. No, earlier this month, early September. 60 U.S. professional organizations, including, for example, American Physics Society, American Chemical Society. These are not Chinese American or Asian American organizations. These are really the mainstream professional organizations. They issue a letter to director of NSF, National Science Foundation, director of National Institute of Health, director of Department of Defense, director of Department of Energy, and also, of course, director of the White House Science Advisory. And White House responded.
What did they say?
Well, it's really very troublesome. Basically said, regarding to the Southern Talent and other talent program, in the past there was allowed, the researchers were actually allowed to get paid from both US, their institution in US and also in China. But now they recognize that it's a problem. So therefore, even though some features will not be acceptable, he doesn't say that all talent programs are bad. He just says some features is becoming not acceptable. So the problem is that seems to be US government is changing the rules now. Or there were rules in the past, they were not enforced in the past. Then the problem is really, they raise a lot of concern from the scientific community. Number one, whether the change of rules makes sense, is yet the right thing to do. Secondly, we cannot retroactively to punish the people in the past. So I think there's still a lot to be evolved. At least now the whole mainstream professional organizations are engaged now, represented by these 60 professional organizations.
Yeah. Some time ago, I think in 2014, Sherry Hu and also Professor Xi was falsely arrested. Can you tell us a little bit about those stories and how is it? What are the cases now, and what's the future of collaborative research between the U.S.?
Yeah, I think those two are really set example of how this struggle started at that time when they were arrested. I think the whole community put our effort behind them to support them. I think many people donated to their legal expenses. But I think you all know, I think that quite a while ago, that the charge against both of them were dropped completely. Now what's going on? Two things happened very recently. I think that's very encouraging. One, I think Sherry Chen has filed a legal lawsuit against the US government for the violation of his civil rights. And most recently, her legal team added the violation of the amendment, the Constitution Amendment 3 and 4 to the lawsuit against the US government. So we'll see how that evolves. I think Sherry Chen's case will still need our support. The other case in Professor Xi's case, most recently, I think just again this month, he was recognized by American Physics Society to be the award for his effort to support the civil rights of the scientists. So that shows the recognition of the professional society to their struggle.
So you still see the danger of Asian scientists being falsely accused without too much evidence. You think this trend will go on, or how do we stop it, and what should we do as Asian American to stop this trend so that we're treated fairly?
I think there's a bill going on in the Congress right now. If this bill passes, it will allow the agents to build up a blacklist of researchers. And that blacklist would not be revealed to anybody, not even, to people who does not have the clarification. So the media cannot even access that list via the Freedom of Information Act. So that means people could be put on that list, and your whole research career could be really damaged because you cannot get funded. But you cannot even defend yourself because you have no access. I think that's a fundamental violation of the due process that the democratic system depends on. So I think this is still an evolving story. I think at this moment it's clear that the science and technology is still being tracked between the US and China.
So to summarize, I think the 14 organization tried to reach to Director Wray and to the FBI director, and they did not choose to come and meet with the 14 organization. Then you had some regional activities, and then eventually, what do you see Asian American can do to make our voices heard so that we were treated fairly?
I think in Sherry Chen's case, it will be a landmark case. I think if Sherry Chen's case can win, I think that would change the history a lot. So I think that's a very important priority. We need to continue to support Sherry Chen's lawsuit. I think other than that, I think there's a congressional watch. We are working with many congressional members at this time. I think we really have to watch out what bill is going on in the US Congress. I think we are in the United States. That's the American way to protect ourselves.
Okay. Can you wrap up about, this whole case of US and China science and technology competition, and can you wrap it up in a few statements?
Yeah, I think the most important statements in the past, when we talk about economy, security, and the national security, these are two different issues. Every country tries to protect their national security. Not too many countries put so much emphasis on economic security. I think Justice and the FBI started to mix these two together a few years ago, but maybe even earlier, but it was not that much enforced or emphasized. Now, the two really got mixed up now. And what is even more troublesome is that in the response from the White House, there's a new term called research security. So you can see the black cloud of national security is spreading wider and wider. It took over the economy security, and now it's threatening research security, and basically it's threatening the basic research.
So it's a matter of big concern to America and also especially to Asian Americans.
And actually that's a concern to the whole world, because I think both China and US play such an important role in the advancement of science technology. I think that's a humanity issue for the human being.
I'm afraid we're running out of time. I want to thank you for coming by, and hopefully you have a good conference tomorrow.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.